So we're going to have a lot of fun today. And just so you know, we got here super early because we literally pray over every single seat. I got up at 4:30 this morning because this is not just a fun thing to do. It's my calling, and you guys will see a bit of that passion come out. I'm not usually someone who cries, but for some reason on Wednesday when I was with a group of patients that were starting with us, I'm sharing what I do and why I do it. Do you remember this? You were there. And I'm like, oh, like it's hitting me. And something that hits me is the fact that we were all given the ability to heal by ourselves. And yet some of you are here today going, well, then how come I'm not healing? And it's simply because of a disconnection to source energy. And no matter if you're a believer or not, I'm a Christian. I believe God built the body. I believe we were designed and created with intimate power. When we have disconnection from source energy, we can't heal. So just like I was going to share a story about this flat tire thing because I saw somebody going down the road and they had a flat tire. And I was, have you ever done this? Like you're on the highway and you're like, well, how do I tell them that their tire's flat and they're on the highway? Has anybody ever done that? Like, should I honk at them? And they usually get upset and then they cut you off. Should I roll the window down? But they're not going to be able to hear me. But you could see the car is going like this. It's acting hyper, isn't it? You see the analogy? It's a hyperactive car. And I guarantee you that they're feeling it. And maybe they think, it's just whatever. But we know that the cause of this hyperactivity is the deficiency. Do you see where I'm going with this? The deficiency in the air. But then something happened in my office. Okay, how many of you have ever had a problem with your internet not connecting?
Oh, yeah.
That's a disconnection from source, is it not? Now, I've had it to the point where I pay for rather high-speed internet, and I'm running a speed test at my office this week, and we're pulling remember dial-up? Who remembers this? Where you go does anybody remember those days? And we were getting worse than dial-up. It's 2018. We're supposed to have hundreds of gigabytes a second. I think we were getting 300 bytes a second, which means that snail mail could go faster. What we found out, you ready for this, is that there was an interference in my signal, the wireless signal, and my receiver, my computer. There was an interference. Now, does the computer work? Yes. Does the energy coming in, does my provider work? Yes. But what's the problem? My signaler was broken. And all it took was literally, how long were we dealing with this? Where's my team? They're still out there. Years! I would always they'd send their Time Warner cable guys. He's like, you know what, we'll just put a new signaler in because it should fix it. And then 3 months later, down. And then we would have another guy come. He's like, well, if it wasn't that, it must be this. Think of it. It's like I'm going to the doctor over and over again saying, why isn't it working? Why do I have headaches? Why do I have back pain? We don't know. We can't figure it out. Try this drug, try this surgery, try that. Finally, I took it upon myself to diagnose the problem, and I said, you know what? I figured it out. The box you gave is not compatible with the speeds you need, and I'm going to go buy my own. So I spent, ready for this, $400 on a wireless router. Is that a lot for a wireless router? Yeah. Super a lot. You get you guys know, you can get them for $29 at Best Buy. I spent $400 because I'm like, I want the best of the best of the best. I want the one that the CIA uses. I want the best. And we found it. And we put it in, and guess what happened?
No more.
No problems at all. Everything's working. What I'm here to tell you is, if you have a health issue, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, if you've got focus and attention issues, if you've got ADD, which, by the way, they don't use that term anymore. Do you guys know that? That's the old school term. The new one is ADHD because you're hyperactive. You're just not connecting to source. And I'm going to show you today the top 3 interferences in a human being and how it disconnects us from source. And I promise you, the same way that if you literally replant a tree that's half dead in new soil and you put it in the sun and you give it water, what always happens? Grows back again, right? Your body is the same thing. It has the potential to grow back again. As hard as this sounds, you can calm yourself down naturally if you're hyperactive. If you have high blood pressure, you can calm the blood pressure down naturally. If you have high triglycerides, if you have high blood sugars, if you weigh too much, you guys see where I'm going with this? If your liver enzymes are elevated, what's unique is the body always reacts to a deficiency, there's not enough air in this tire, with a hyperactivity. That's deep. Always. So if you're going, hey doc, why do I have high blood pressure? You have a deficiency somewhere. And it's not a deficiency in the medication you're taking. You guys realize that? Like, there is no, like, lisinopril deficiency for human beings. You're never supposed to be on it, so you should never be taking it, so you're not deficient in medications. You're deficient in connection to source. Does that make sense? So as we go through today, you're going to see how we connect to source. Now, the unique thing is, what's the solution to fix this hyperactive bouncing car? What's the solution? What's the solution? AAA? Come on out and fix it for me? Maybe. Maybe. But how would they fix it? Ryan? You got to find the hole. Now, be careful going, I'll put more air in it. Because something's making it deflate. The air is a medication. The air is a supplement. The air is maybe AAA coming out with those portable things. Could filling it up with air temporarily solve your problem? Yes. Do you see the analogy here? But what's going to happen if you don't find the problem? It's going to keep deflating, and you're going to keep having the hyperactivity in the car. Now, look at your body. What if this is your liver? What if it's your brain? What if it's your spleen? What if it's your gut? Most of us just say, man, just fix it. Like, I need something right now. Right now. I need to calm down. I need to pay attention. I need to be better in school. I need to bring my blood pressure down now. Medicine's really good at doing that. Yes? The pills work for what they want them to do, but they don't fix you. They just change your numbers. Does that make sense to you guys? So if you're here today going, Doc, I'm at this event because I want an answer, I promise you, you're going to find it today. You're going to know what tests you need to get today, and you're going to have an option to be able to get it done at a severe discount if you want to today. So if you like to save money and save time, anybody? We're going to make that happen for you. Okay? Personally, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my health, on my wife's health, on my kids' health. I was that typical kid that was diagnosed with hyperactivity, except when I was younger, they called it attention deficit. He just can't pay attention. Some of you have listened to my radio shows and you watch my events like I do. I talk fast, I move fast, I think fast. It's not abnormal to be hyperactive. You guys get this? Do you guys know that the classic definition of how a doctor diagnoses a child with hyperactivity is they can't sit still, they can't pay attention, they fidget a lot, they move all around, they look around, they don't listen. Like, I have a 2-year-old, apparently he's severely hyperactive. You guys get it? It's normal activity. You take any child of any age and you say, sit in this desk, don't move, look at this screen and read, and they're going to go, no way. Because we're not designed to do that. Do you guys understand? Now, even today, you guys are going to have attention hyperactivity disorders. You're going to go, wait, what did you just say? I'm lost. I was thinking about something else. I thought about my shopping list. I thought about my to-do list. It's normal for the human brain to bounce all around, but you have to learn how to calm it down. And I'm going to show you the reason you can't calm it down is you're deficient in one specific thing. I'm curious. Does anybody know? What deficiency creates hyperactivity?
Sugar.
No. That would be an excess, wouldn't it? Too much sugar. What deficiency? What's missing? Yes, but that's a part of it. We talked about it earlier. You would only have a hyperactivity disorder if you are missing your connection to source healing. Got it? If you're deficient in your source healing, then you will have a hyperactive disorder. Now, you know what happens when I say the word hyperactive disorder? I get a lot of like things where, this thing has ADD. There it goes. I get a lot of people, and it even happened today. Like, we had quite a lot of people call us saying, I want to come to your event. Today. I know. And you guys, look, it's full. I even had more than this. But then what happened was, did anybody do this? You got one of the tickets, and you're like, wait a second, hyperactivity. I don't have that. I don't have ADHD. I don't think I'm going to go. For some reason, our brains think hyperactivity means just attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I'm here to talk about the hyper response. Why is it that the labs always come back high? That's hyperactivity, yes? Too much cholesterol, too much triglycerides, too many liver enzymes, too many white blood cells, too many red blood cells. Remember, anything that's too high is because of what? An inherent deficiency. Now, by definition, even medically, they say any abnormal reaction in the human body that results in too much function by one or multiple systems. Can your heart be hyperactive? Rapid heartbeats, arrhythmias, elevated blood pressure. Can your liver? Too much of the enzymes, ALT, AST. If you guys have ever been tested before, you know what these things mean, maybe. They're liver enzymes. If you have too many enzymes, something's wrong with your liver. But it's not underperforming. Somewhere else, something is underactive and your liver is going, all right, I will take over for you. I'll become hyperactive. If you don't fix the deficiency, the hyperactive will cause disease. Can your immune system be overactive? And what is that called? Autoimmune disease. We start eating ourselves to pieces. We attack our joints, we attack our thyroid, we attack our brain, we attack our spleen. We attack things. Why? There's a deficiency somewhere. Does that make sense? So you could pick any condition. Dr. Ernst, cancer. It's a deficiency because it's overgrowth of cells, yes? Too many cells growing too fast is hyperactivity, yes? So the cause of cancer is a deficiency. Are you deficient in chemo, radiation, and surgery? No. Now here's where it gets even crazier. Can your brain be deficient? Okay, now a lot of us have brain deficiencies. And I'm not talking like, wait, what'd you just say? Where am I? Who am I? What day is today? Who's the president? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about functionality deficiencies. And yes, dopamine, you guys need to write this down. Dopamine is your favorite neurotransmitter. You guys love dopamine. Now watch this. They've done studies on this. You know why we're so addicted to our cell phones? Ready for this? The moment it dings, you secrete dopamine in your brain. Because you go like this, ooh, I wonder who's texting me. I wonder if it's my friend. The excitement, the I wonder if, creates an instant dopamine squeeze. So when your dopamine gets low, you will look for anything and everything to give you that rush. And the reason that now every app says, do you want your notifications, yes or no, is they know if I get a yes, then you'll get addicted to my app. If you say, yeah, let me know every time someone posts on Facebook. Every single second someone posts, ding, 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 ding. You guys understand? So we love dopamine as human beings. The challenge is most of us don't have enough dopamine, and that's the deficiency, do you get it, that creates hyperactivity. Now watch, as an adult, what condition do you get when your dopamine is low? Somebody tell me. Ryan knows a lot about dopamine apparently. What's the disease? Parkinson's. Okay, now watch. If I'm a Parkinson's patient and I'm trying to stand in front of you, how do I stand? I go like this, don't I? Who's the most famous Parkinson's patient in the planet today? Michael J. Fox. What can he not do? He can't sit still. Now, here's the thing. He can't sit still. Hey, child, sit still. I can't. I'm overactive. They have a dopamine deficiency. Do you get it? If a child or an adult is dopamine deficient, you can't stay still. You will always be bouncing and moving in your seat. You'll be like, well, I don't know, I just got to bounce my leg. Because the movement stimulates dopamine release. So it's the body trying to fix it. Think about, why would a Parkinson's patient do this? Because it's at least giving them a little bit of dopamine. If you ever watch them, when they stay relaxed, they're like this. But when they move a little bit, they're a little more like, okay, I can do this. Does that make sense to you guys? You've got to learn about dopamine, where it comes from, what it does, how you get more of it naturally without artificially getting it. As in using your cell phones, being on Facebook, stay up till 2 in the morning, going, I wonder what's going on in their life, because guess what that does? It secretes dopamine, which is why we're all addicted to it. Are you guys okay with this? So I promise you one thing. If you're looking for an answer for your health, you're going to find it today. It works 100% of the time, all the time, because it's not a pill, it's not a drug, it's not a procedure, it's your body fixing itself, but you must remove the interference from source healing. It would be like this, right? If I drop this crayon, will it hit the floor? Yes. How many times will it do it? 100% of the time that I do it. Would you ever have to say, Dr. Ernst, I don't know about that? Like, is there any research that proves this? Do you have clinical studies of 1,000 patients or 1,000 pens that have been dropped that it's going to work? We don't do it anymore because we know a law called gravity, yes? But watch this. Will it hit the floor? Not if something is interfering with it. Does it have the ability to do it? Yes, but why won't it hit the floor? There is an interference. How do I get it to hit the floor? Remove the interference. I hope you understand what I'm saying to you. If you have a high health issue, too much weight, can't think, blood pressure's high, cholesterol's high, don't add more interference, taking medications, taking supplements sometimes. Remove the interference and you will naturally fall to the floor in health. You'll get better. You'll calm down. Guaranteed. Isn't that amazing? Like, I don't know about you, but you should be jumping for joy over that. And it's a gift that you were given. Break a bone and just watch. Don't even cast it. Just watch. Don't move for 8 weeks, and what will happen? It'll grow back together again. Cut your skin, and don't even bandage it. Don't do anything. What will happen? It'll clot over, it'll scar over, and you'll grow new skin. Come on. Why can't your heart repair its blood pressure then? You're interfered somewhere. And all you need to learn today, the stool in your packet, the 3 legs are the 3 interferences. So here's what I want you to do as a little homework assignment. The top of the stool, can I borrow yours, Tam? See this right here? The top of the stool is blank. I want you to write what you want fixed in that stool. Is it high blood pressure, cholesterol, my neck pain, my back pain, my hyperactivity, my left leg is numb? Write whatever you want that you want fixed. If you're like, I don't really have a problem, I want to stay healthy, then you should write the word my future health. My future health. Because you might think you're healthy right now, and you're going to find out today you may not be. So your future health is based upon these 3 things. Does that make sense? So again, if you're like, I've got dementia, I don't even remember what you just said, go ahead and write it down before you forget it. If you have hyperactivity, write it down. If you have high cholesterol, if you need to lose 30 pounds, if you're overweight, if your doctor said this is what you need to fix, write it down in the top. Everybody good with that? Okay, now, those 3 legs you're going to fill in as we go through today. And if you understand what I'm talking about, there's something unique about the reason that there's 3 parts of God, yes? Father, Son, Spirit. Why don't we just have 2? Does anybody know? Maybe you've never thought about this before because it's a spiritual question. Why wasn't it just God the Father and God the Son? Yes, Ryan? Yes. You get perfect balance with 3. A tripod only needs 3 legs to be perfectly balanced. 4 is too many, 2 is not enough. 3 is perfection. In the Bible, 3 is perfect. So you have 3 core foundations for your health to create perfect health. Do you guys get this? God, I hope you get this. Okay? So if we want to fix a problem like high pressure, cholesterol, you name it, okay? Look, it can even be I'm aging too fast. Do you guys know this? There's a specific age for a human being. We're supposed to live a certain amount of time, yet we're all dying between 75, 78, 80, 82, etc. How long should we live? 120. Now watch. If you're so blocked with your deficiencies that your age is getting too fast, so your internal age is faster than your external age, no matter what, you die at 120. So when someone passes away randomly at 68, what it means is the inside reached 120 in 68 years. Do you get it? They have too fast of aging. They're turning over too fast. If your weight is too high, if your hormones are all off, I have too much estrogen and I got breast cancer as a result. No, you have a deficiency and your body tried to balance it by spiking your estrogen. Are you guys familiar with like a little teeter saw? Right? So like if your blood pressure is high, it's because something's missing. If your cholesterol is high, it's you're missing. If you're too active, you're missing. So what do? Do we do this? Well, let's go to the doctor. Boy, this really is freaking out. We go to the doctor, and what? They say, nope, we're not going to look at your deficiency. We're going to give you something. We're going to add to what you're doing to try to bring it down. Now, could the pressure change with the drug? You guys know this, right? It will. But once you stop the drug, what happens? Why? Because this was not rebalanced up. And when you cover it with the drug, does this get worse? Yes. Because you're not doing anything for it. So then, watch this. As this gets worse, even with the drug, what does this do? It goes up, which is why you need what? 2. And then you need 3. And then you need surgery. So I promise you, if you want to get off a medication, you can't just stop it cold turkey. You have to fix the deficiency. Now, you don't need to necessarily write this down, but if we're going to talk about the biggest deficiencies that I see categorically is this. Wouldn't you guys agree? Can you be vitamin deficient and have high blood pressure? What's the vitamin that causes high blood pressure if you're deficient in it? D. If your D is lower than 30 and you have high blood pressure and you want to get your blood pressure fixed, fix your vitamin D deficiency. How do we know what our vitamin D levels are? What's your first name?
Robert.
Robert, can you feel your vitamin D level right now? Could you tell me what the number is in your blood?
No.
So how would you know?
Blood work.
You have to get tested. Here's the trick. You go to your MD, he's your primary, and you say, hey, I want a vitamin D test. What do? What do they do? They go, why? What do you want that for? I want it. You're my doctor. I'll pay you for it. I want it. You know. Your annual physical is not due for another year. Well, doc, do you include vitamin D on the annual physical? No. And if you ask them why not, they'll say, what do you need to know for? They don't even recognize it's a master hormone. Look, low vitamin D actually causes all of this. Did you know that? It's a master hormone. It shuttles things around in your body. If you don't have the bus coming to pick you up and you need to get somewhere, what happens? The bus stop is going to start piling up with people, correct? So your cholesterol will pile up. Your triglycerides pile up because they're going like this. Where's the bus? I need to get out of the liver and get to the heart now to fix the heart, but there's no bus to take me to the heart. Like, I really hope you guys get this. But now watch this. You'll say, but Dr. Ernst, my vitamin D is normal and I still have high blood pressure. Then you have a different deficiency. Do you get it? You got to go deep for your health. Can minerals cause it? Yes. Copper is the #1 mineral deficiency that causes high blood pressure. Copper. When we talk about enzymes, would you agree that you need an enzyme to convert cholesterol into sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, etc., cortisol, DHEA, etc.? If you don't have the enzymes to make it move, what happens to the cholesterol? It goes up. Do you see it? Well, doc, they put me on my statins and my cholesterol is good. Okay, but what happens when you stop? Oh, no, I won't stop. I don't want to have a heart attack. You're still going to have a heart attack. Right. Because it doesn't prevent disease. Does that make sense? If anything, it causes more disease. We now know that long-term statin use causes what disease? Starts with a D. Nobody wants to get it. It's dementia, but dementia is the end stage of having diabetes for too long, becoming insulin resistant, and having you lose the ability to get sugar into your brain. Remember, I need to get to the brain. The brain needs sugar to work. It can't get to the brain, so the brain goes, I'm dying, and you can't remember things. It's a deficiency. So then what happens is this, right? They give us the drug. We talk, again, I'm so sorry. This is supposed to very smoothly roll. And what happens is this gets worse, so this goes up, so now you need a stronger one to cover it. You need more of them. I promise you, if you're like, well, doc, you don't understand. I've done everything to get off this drug. I can't. You haven't done everything. You haven't fixed the deficiencies. What are the other big ones? Can you have an organ problem? If your kidney isn't working to its full capacity and you can't excrete to the degree of the toxins that you need, they'll pile up and toxins cause disease. Can you have an immune system issue? Isn't your immune system supposed to heal you anyway? So if your immune system's at 100%, how many blood pressure, cholesterol, hyperactivity problems would you have? How many? 0. So I get asked all the time, well, doc, you don't understand. I'm really healthy, yet I have this one problem. No, you're not healthy. Then they argue with me. No, you don't understand. I don't take any medications. I just have this one problem with my health. Well, if you're healthy, you wouldn't have the one problem with your health. But doc, you don't understand. I eat well, I exercise. I don't care. That's not health. Health is connection to source, the natural ability for your body to heal by itself, which comes from all of these. Can you have a microbiome issue? This is a big word today, especially in the alternative fields, even in the medical field. Can your gut make you sick? Yes. Now here's a big one. Could it just be that you're dehydrated? You don't have enough water in your body. Okay, I've run thousands of body composition scans on people. 75 to 80% come back dehydrated. And you know what they say? Understand, I drink water all day. Yeah, but if you just pee it right out, you're just a big filter. You have to absorb it, not let it pass through you. Now here's what everybody used to say, right? You want your urine to be just slightly yellow but mostly clear, right? No. That means you're overhydrated and you're excreting mostly water. You want your specific gravity to be at a certain state, your pH, and you want your dissolved solids to be at a certain level, but you can't see that. You have to get it tested. Does that make sense? The big thing is this. I'm a huge fan. Don't guess with your health. Test your health. But as soon as I say test, what does your brain start thinking? Go with it. God, it's going to be too much money. I can't afford this. That's why I have to help you, because you're used to medical tests which cost a fortune. Why is an MRI several thousands of dollars, but an X-ray is only a couple $100s? What's that? Because it can be. Because you ask your insurance to pay for it, and they can set whatever fee they want. Do you guys know this? We are creating our own problem by asking our insurance to pay for our health. And what will also happen is you guys will go like this. Well, I have really good insurance, doc. They cover all of my medical. Will they work in your office? No, because I'm not a medical doctor. I do functional work. I'm a chiropractor, a physical therapist. I have a degree in what's known as functional integrative medicine, and the insurance company says that's experimental. If you want to do that with him, you have to pay for it. And what gets even crazier is they still set the fee you'd have to pay in the United States. We're the only country in the world that an insurance company dictates how much care costs. You go any other place in the world and the doctor will just say, well, here's how much I charge for this. Isn't that wild? So we need to fix that. Okay, that's going to take time. So here's what I want you to understand. I had this weird curiosity, and I talked about this on one of my radio shows. Just who listens to my radio show, just so I can get a show of hands? Who heard the thing where I was like, why on earth do they give stimulant to someone who needs to calm down? Why would you give a stimulant to someone who needs to calm down? It should tell you, A, that the whole thing is messed up, and B, that maybe they actually know what's happening, but they don't want you to know. Did you know that Ritalin is one of the #1 prescribed medications for hyperactivity in adults and kids and teens? Yes. Calm down by taking liquid speed. It is cocaine altered by a couple bonds to be modified so that it does the same thing in your brain that cocaine does, but it doesn't have as high of an addictive nature. Now, it's still extremely addictive. It's a Schedule II methamphetamine, meaning it's a street drug legalized and prescribed. But for some reason, because an MD gives it to you, there's nothing wrong with taking it. But if you go to the corner and you buy it from a junkie, you'll go to jail. Weird, isn't it? Yeah. Now, in the brain, what it does is it stimulates dopamine in a specific region called the basal ganglia. You don't really need to know this, but the basal ganglia is what controls motor movements. So think about it. If I don't have enough dopamine to calm down the basal ganglia, I'll start shaking. Now, a lot of you are already doing this and you don't even know it. You'll go grab a cup of coffee and you're like, wow, I think I need more coffee. I'm really jittery. Anybody? Mm-hmm. I'll hold a fork out to try to poke it into something and I'm like this. I can't. That is a dopamine deficiency in your brain. Guaranteed. But have you been tested for it? No. You think you're just needing more sleep or you need a good massage or you need to take a relaxer. Okay? I'm promising you the issue is this. Now, why would giving a stimulant calm someone down? Because the drug artificially pushes dopamine. So they go like this. Oh yes. By taking speed. Now, do you think that's going to have a consequence to other organs in the body? Massive consequences. And it's extremely addictive. Okay? A lot of college kids today are literally trading this drug. They'll go, what do you got today? Have you guys heard of what's known, I think they call it like a Skittles party, if I remember right? You guys know about this? Who does not know what a Skittles party is? It's when you literally throw a bunch of medications into a bowl, because they're all different colors, and they just start popping them to see what happens. It's called a Skittles party. And they do it in college. So here's what you need to understand. No drug will ever fix you if you're addressing just the symptom. Okay? High blood pressure is not a disease. Cancer is not a disease. Diabetes is not a disease. It's a symptom of the deficiency. Are you guys okay with this? Yeah. So what I would want to know is, how do I naturally increase my dopamine, yes, and not have to do it with a drug, and not have to become addicted to things like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and alcohol and other things, cigarettes, etc. Coffee does the same thing. Caffeine stimulates. That's why a lot of us drink coffee, because we're like, yeah, it's part of a natural way, but the problem is there's a better way than caffeine. Because again, remember, your body's supposed to do what? Make the dopamine already. So the question should be not, what can I take, Dr. Ernst? Can I go out and get moringa extract and swallow that in my smoothies every day? Maybe, but it's no different than taking a drug. Right. Wouldn't you want your dopamine to be made all the time, 100% of the time, in a natural way so you have it all the time? I don't know about you, but that's what I want. I'll jump forward by quizzing real quick. Where does dopamine come from? Where do we get dopamine from? It's in our brain, but it doesn't come from our brain. Where does it come from? It comes from tryptophan, which is an amino acid, yes, being converted into a neurotransmitter. And you have tons of them, right? Epinephrine, norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, yes? And if tryptophan cannot be converted into neurotransmitters, what will happen? Your levels will go down, yes? Where does amino acid tryptophan convert into dopamine? What organ in your body does the conversion? The liver and the intestine. Now notice you guys are all like, oh, I have no idea. Because no one is going to teach you how to heal by yourself. If you fix your tryptophan conversion into neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, and epinephrine, you will feel like $1,000,000 all the time. That's serotonin. You will have calm, cool natures to your health, lower cholesterols, lower triglycerides. You can see how it works? And you just have to fix the deficiency in the first place. Now, here's what's even deeper. Why isn't the gut working? Why isn't the liver working? Do you see it? There's always a source. You've lost source energy to that area. And what are the 3 biggest source energy deficiencies? The 3 legs of your stool. Does that make sense to you guys? So what we're going to do today is go, okay, what are the 3 legs? How do you test for them to see if you have them interfering with your source energy? And then what do you do to fix them? Does that sound like a fair trade for today? I'm going to basically give you $1 billion worth of information. If you apply it, I know 100% you will heal yourself. You just may need a little help, because if I ask you to run off and get a neurotransmitter panel done on your brain, you're going to say what to me? Dr. Ernst, where do I get it from? Or I don't have the money to do that. Okay, look at me real quick. A neurotransmitter assessment of your brain ranges between $500 to $1,000, and you have to do it multiple times to make sure that they're moving in the right direction. So if I said, okay, I want you to set $3,000 aside over the next year, and we're going to work on your neurotransmitters, and you're going to get them tested, and you can do this, how many of you would say right now, let's go? That's a problem then, because you guys should say, I'll do it. Ryan's like, I'll do it. The problem is if you're like, 3,000 is way too much, how much does it cost to deal with the sickness when you don't take care of yourself? Right. North of 3,000, I promise you that. But 3,000 is if you ask your insurance to pay for it. So there is a way, if you find a doctor who's connected with holistic labs, that they can run them at discounts for you. And I'm going to show you how you can get that for pennies on the dollar. I can run that test by itself for about 50 bucks. So if I order it for you, it costs me $50. So what am I going to ask you to do? Just reimburse my $50. No, see, you would think I'm going to ask you to pay $100 so I make money off of it. I do not need to make money anymore. I need you to heal, and no one else is going to do it. Would you be willing to pay $50 so I can buy a test for you that's normally $300? So you see how it works? Yeah. That's what we're going to do for you guys today, okay? But only if you want to. Now, these are the 3 legs. If you have a gut that's leaking, or there's dysbiosis in your intestines, like you guys should all be filling your sheets out, because this is going to be a problem. When you leave and on Monday, you're going to go, I don't even remember the 3 legs, right? I mean, come on. So write them down. It's a leaky gut, a chemical stressor, and a nerve imbalance. That is what brings your health. If you do not have your health, then you're missing 1, 2, or all 3 of those legs, okay? Now, when we talk about one of the biggest issues that I see is that the toxicity makes the neurological balance worse and makes the microbiome worse. What is the #1 toxin that all of us, maybe some of you guys, are consuming every day that's damaging our body? Sugar. That's what you think it is, but it's not. What is more toxic than sugar? Salt, no. Corn, no. What's more toxic than corn? Look, I could eat corn on the cob for years and still be okay. Now the pesticides are climbing, but I can still eat pesticide for years. What can I not consume an entire amount of in one day and survive through it? What would be one thing, if I ate this in one day, I will die that day?
Lead.
Lead, definitely. If you ate like a brick of lead, you would die that day. Not salt.
Mercury.
You got to remember though, okay, in the United States, we classify food as things that go into our mouth, right? Yes? So what do you guys pop the white top to and hold an orange container with and take a pill every day? Your prescription drugs are the most toxic thing on the planet. How do we know that? Take 30 of them all at once and what happens? Now eat 30 pieces of corn, what happens? You'll be full. Eat 30 apples that are sprayed with pesticide, what happens? Nothing. But if you do it every day for 40 years, you'll get sick. But if you take your medications daily, you are toxifying yourself worse, making these conditions worse, making your health worse, and who do you think knows that that happens? Big Pharma, the government, and your medical doctor. If I give you a drug, you'll get worse, which means you'll come back because you think we're here for your health, and we'll give you another one, and you'll get worse. And you think we're here for your health, and we'll give you another one. And when that doesn't work, we'll send you to the specialists that you'll have to pay more to see. You'll have a higher copay, and they'll make you even worse by taking your organs out.
Amen.
Do you guys understand? It is a sick, twisted system to make money off of your ignorance. Your ignorance. You must know that you can heal by yourself. you must know that you do not need a medication to feel well or to feel better. If you think you do, then you've been programmed incorrectly. You can reprogram your mind by just opening up and going, wait, what if? What if there's a way that I could get off the drug and feel better than when I'm on it? What if there's a way I could calm down naturally? And I promise you, fix your gut, get your stressors chemically out of you, toxins, pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals, etc., and reconnect your brain to your body, and you will heal all of the time. I have personally seen lymphatic tumors the size of a grapefruit inside a man's chest go away in 8 weeks. And the doctor said, it's a miracle. We have no idea how it happened. I guess the chemo worked. I've seen people who have been near death come back to life. I've seen raging diabetics come out of diabetes in less than 90 days, and their doctor says, it's not possible. The labs must be someone else's. She's sitting right here right now, and you as well. You know what they said? This isn't you. The lab must have made a mistake. It's not humanly possible for this disease to go away, but yet it did. Why? Medicine cannot fix a disease. What do? You guys have heard me talk about this before. They mask it and they manage it, which is why they're called MDs. They mask it and they manage it. A medical doctor will never get you well, ever. Who will get you well? You will. The doctor inside of you, the greatest healer on the planet, which is the Spirit, remember the triune effect? The Spirit, the Holy Spirit inside of you will restore you when you're reconnected. And it doesn't just mean reading the Bible. It means recognizing where is it physically in you. Think about this. Where does your energy live in you? Is it in your heart? Is it in your gut? No. Where's the energy? Where is your source power? Where's your battery? Your brain. So where does the spirit of energy live inside of you? It's physically in your brain. The problem is it's existentially there and we can't see it by science. But I know that it's in there. And God put it up top because it's what runs it all. Does that make sense to you guys? So you have to understand you are a spiritual being in a physical body. You're energetic, and they're never going to find it, ever. But you have already found it if you release the interferences. So let's go into toxins. Okay, so here's the problem with toxins. You all are being exposed to them every day, but you don't think it's a big deal because you're not reacting to them immediately. Does that make sense? So if I drank a gallon of Roundup, what would happen? I'm looking at you because you said pesticides and herbicides, right? Would I die if I drank a gallon of Roundup right now? Do you guys know you've all consumed roughly a gallon of Roundup every year just by eating non-organic fruits and vegetables and by eating boxed processed foods? If your cereal comes in a box, it has Roundup in it. If you're drinking and eating commercially produced products, it has Roundup in it. There was just a study done, I think it was at the beginning of this year. Every single U.S. wine bottle. Does anybody drink wine? Mm-hmm. You all are like, no, I don't drink wine. Yes, you do. Every single wine bottle that comes from the United States has been tested positive for Roundup in the wine. All beers produced in the United States have Roundup in them. All corn, soy, wheat, and oat products that are not organic have Roundup in them. So you are actually eating Roundup, you just don't know it. And you're going to see that they know that you're eating it, and they want you to eat it more because it causes the biggest deficiency ever. Destroys your gut. Destroys it. Pesticides and herbicides fall in that category. Heavy metals are a big deal today. Mercury, lead, arsenic, tin, thallium, barium, cesium, antimony, etc. Lyme and mold and parasites. Many of you might say, no, there's no way I have a parasite. I've seen some tremendous things come out of people. Tremendous. Yes, sir. Yes? The hexavalent chromium is a big issue in Charlotte because it's in our water. And that is a toxin. Well, there are no immediate effects. It has to accumulate to go beyond. And all these ocular cancers we're seeing here in our county is because of that. All of the lung cancers and stuff. Do you guys know that Mecklenburg County has the highest cancer rates of the entire state of North Carolina? And we have hexavalent chromium in our water. It's the Erin Brockovich chemical. Now, if you're like, I had no idea. If you go drink tap water without highly filtering it through a zeolite carbon bone char filter, you're not going to get rid of it. So you need to find somebody that knows about this stuff. I've dedicated my entire life to natural healing because it brought me back from the dead. It brought my wife back from the dead. And I have a tremendous amount of connections with people in the United States that can help you to get it out of your water while we live here in Charlotte. But we just need to talk. Okay, now here's the deal. These things, these man-made chemicals, are they going to start getting worse? Are we going to have more and more and more and more of them produced in the United States? Yes. You have to start paying attention to this. Now, your body can accumulate a certain amount of them. It's what's known as the bucket theory. Do you guys know of this? Apparently not, okay? So if I look at a bucket, and let's say I'm pouring water in at the rate of, say, 1 gallon per minute, and this is a 500-gallon bucket, how many minutes will it take for the bucket to overflow? It's Saturday in the morning, so I realize this might be tough to do math. How many minutes? 5 minutes, would you agree? Now, at the 5-minute mark, if it's still flowing through, what happens? It overflows, yes? Now, when it comes to hexavalent chromium, no one knows the amount of human capacity. We just know it's dangerous. So any amounts, but technically there will come a point where you're like, I'm not having a problem. Why? It's not overflowing. The problem is when your bucket overflows. Does this make sense to you guys? So some people say stuff like this, well, Dr. Ernst, I've had a flu shot every year and I have no problems. You will at some point. Well, I eat non-organic food because it's cheap and I save money. You will have a problem at some point in your life. Well, you don't understand. This grass-fed beef is $9 a pound. This lean 89% Black Lion, Food Lion, Publix is only $3 a pound. It's the same, isn't it? No. That is sickness, disease, and death ground up on a plate. This is health, life, and healing. But if you are buying your health with your wallet, trying to save money, you're going to get sick, and you're going to pay more in the future. More. I promise you, you will always pay more. But Dr. Ernst, you don't understand. I don't have the money. Yes, you do. You're just spending it on useless things. Is your cell phone really a necessary item in your life? If you have 3 cars, couldn't you get by with just 2 of them? Or 1? If you have a cable that has 500 channels and it's costing you $100 per month and you only watch it 1 or 2 days a week, couldn't you just say, I'm done with that and I just saved $1,200? Dr. Ernst, you don't understand. I don't have money. Yes, you do. You're just spending it on useless things. So be careful. Is your health worth an investment?
Yes.
Yes. But if you think your car should be nice and it's better to have that than your health, then you're going to pay the price in the future. So when it comes to metals, I want you guys to understand this. Science knows that it makes you sick, which is why they put them in the medications. So are you aware that there are heavy metals in almost every prescription medication? Not necessarily mercury or lead, but they'll have things like lithium, which is a heavy metal. They'll have things like arsenic, and they'll have things like tin and cadmium and all these other things. They put heavy metals in the medications. Why? Because it will make you lose your mind, and then you will need more help physically. We also know that there are specific metals that lead to this ADD hyperactivity epidemic that's going on, and it's mercury, lead, and cadmium. They know it for a fact. The more mercury that you have in your body as a child, the more likely you are to be hyperactive. So what do they give all children when they're born? Vaccines, and they load them full of metals from the start because they know if I begin this way, they will get sick in the future. They won't blame us for what we did right now because it takes years for it to show up. So we will say, oh, well, I'm getting older. No, you were preset for disease from birth. Am I an anti-vaxxer? Not necessarily. But am I against the original design of the human being, of the body, by altering it with medications and exposing a child that has no will other than their parents' information? Absolutely, you bet I am. My kids are unvaccinated, and I'm proud of saying it. And yet the funny thing is, as soon as the school finds out, they're like, your child can't be in our school. And I'm like, wait a second. Aren't all the other kids vaccinated?
Yep.
So if my daughter does bring an illness, shouldn't they be protected? And you know what they say? Well, we're doing this for her, not for the other kids. We don't want her to get sick. Well, I don't understand. Aren't the kids vaccinated? So they shouldn't get sick. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. I know it doesn't, because it makes them sick. Did you guys know this? If you're vaccinated, you're more likely to get sick. If you're unvaccinated, you hardly ever get sick. My daughter is 7. No whooping cough, no diphtheria. She's still alive, by the way. All the pediatricians said she ain't going to make it. She'll get to 2 and she'll die spontaneously because she doesn't have an immune system. Do you realize this? They think when you're born that you're weak. But what does God say? You're strong. They think you need an outside source for health. And what does God say? I already gave it to you. You just are messing it up because you don't understand where you came from and you don't understand who you are. And if you know who you are, you'll realize you're actually a piece of God sitting right here, right now. And I would imagine God can heal himself.
That's right.
So you should be able to heal yourself. But you're just not doing it because you don't know who you are. And hopefully today you figure out who you are. Now watch. This was a big one, guys. Glyphosate predicts ADHD hospital discharges, meaning diagnoses, in the healthcare cost and utilization. They wanted to find out if the amount of glyphosate consumed is directly connected to your hyperactivities. And they said it is. It was published in 2015, and about 6 months later it was retracted because they said, we cannot publish this. They were paid off. The article was written by several doctors and stuff. It was pushed in this journal, and then the journal got paid off by Monsanto to say, hey, I need you to remove this. Wow. We cannot let the public know that it does this. So if you go and you type this phrase in right now, if you guys hop on your phone, you type in glyphosate use predicts ADHD hospital discharges in the healthcare costs of the United States, the page will load and it will say removed. Now I have the original article because I store things like crazy, and it said specifically there's a one-to-one correlation. I'm going to show it to you. One-to-one correlation, the amount of glyphosate in your body to your hyperactivity disorders, meaning high blood pressure, cholesterol, cancer, heart disease, you name it. So what do we need to do? We need to get the metals out. We got to get the glyphosate out of your body. Now here's the unique thing about glyphosate. You don't just pee it out. It has to be physically ripped out of your body with a special chelation product, and you have to know how much you have, which means you have to get tested. Will your medical doctor test you for glyphosate? So you have to find somebody who will do it for you. Now watch this. The bars that you're looking at here that keep rising like this are the amounts by percentage of whatever we're looking at. So is liver cancer on the rise? Yes. Is autism on the rise in the U.S.? Is the number of people going to hospitals on the rise in the U.S.? Is dementia deaths on the rise? Diabetes on the rise? Everything's on the rise, isn't it? Now the lines that you see are the amounts of, say, for example, genetic corn and soy crops used in the U.S., the amount of glyphosate applied to them, and what are you noticing as a trend in glyphosate use and everything else? Guys, that's like a 90% correlation, meaning the years that glyphosate goes down, they'll see a little dip in what would have been the normal trend. See how it went down? And they'll see these little dips in it instead of it being linear. It's an exact, nearly one-to-one correlation. Where does Roundup come from for you? It comes from the things you consume that are sprayed with pesticides and herbicides. It is the #1 pesticide herbicide in the United States. So if you're like, well, the organic grapes are $4.99 a pound, and the regular grapes are 99 cents a pound, and you go, that's a good deal. That's disease sitting at a low price because they think you're going to buy it because it's cheaper. And I used to do that. Now what I do is I go, unless it says organic, non-GMO verified, I don't eat it. Right. You have to be the author of your own health. What about heart disease? Notice, mercury, lead, cadmium. Aren't they the same three? Because what do? They block dopamine production in the brain. When we come over here and we look at things like liver disease, mercury, lead, thallium, which is a little different. Thallium, by the way, comes from insecticides. So if you have Orkin, Home Team Pest Defense, Black Pest Company, what else are the ones in Charlotte? You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. If you have somebody come to your house and you're like, I don't like the bugs, can you spray for the bugs? Yeah, they're spraying metals onto your lawn and around your house because it kills the bugs and it gets inside of you. And what it does is it causes problems. The amount of metal in your urine and diabetes rates in the United States, one-to-one correlation. How much mercury you have predicts how much diabetes you have, and heart disease, and everything else. It's not that hard to see the trends, and the trends are the same. This is where we're currently getting metals in our body from, okay? This is the coal ash smokestack at any Duke Energy or any energy company that's burning coal for energy. Do you guys realize we still burn coal for energy? And in fact, the reason we have hexavalent chromium in the ground here is because Duke Energy, if they're watching on Facebook, has a known crack in the reserve at the Marshall plant on Lake Norman. And the FDA came back in the beginning of this year and said, dear Duke Energy, you have a crack, you need to fix it. And Duke said, okay. And they were given 90 days, and when the FDA came back, the crack was still there, and so they fined them $180,000, and what did Duke Energy do? They raised your electric bill. Do you guys remember this? It happened this year. They raised your electric bill because they're like, well, we'll make the people pay for it. Now, they still haven't fixed it because it's so bad of a problem that we'd have to drain the lake significantly to be able to get into it and fix it. And if we shut the lake down, we're going to have a big problem. So we know for a fact that Charlotte is very highly contaminated with toxins. Go to the Environmental Working Group's tap water database, type in your zip code, and you'll see all the chemicals in your home water. So we breathe this stuff in. Now, how many of you are like, Dr. Ernst, look, I had this awesome meal. I took my husband and my wife out. We had scallops, we had shrimp, we had lobster. I went to the best fish house on the place. Aren't they delicacies, right? Pay top dollar for them, don't we? They're loaded with mercury. So if you're like, well, I really enjoy shrimp, I pretty much can guarantee you get a lot of mercury in you. The bigger the fish, the worse it is. You guys know swordfish is even sold at Whole Foods, yet it's literally like you're eating a bar of mercury or lead. If you have a swordfish steak or a swordfish sandwich, you might as well just drink mercury straight. By volume, it's nearly 89% mercury. Why? Because they're big fish and they eat the small fish. It's called bioaccumulation. It's the idea that they ate mussels and squid and salmon and all that other stuff, and they start piling up on them. Shark is a big one. Grouper is a big one. Mackerel is a big one. And this is tough because don't a lot of you guys eat tuna? Yeah, tuna is highly loaded in metals. Highly loaded. Almost 63% by volume. Now, this is a tough one because some people argue over this, but if you currently, right now, open your mouth and you see a silver filling, you are highly toxic in mercury. If it's silver and it was installed before 2002, 2003, it's loaded with mercury. Now, there is a chance that it's being stabilized and it's not vaporizing, but it's only about 10% of them. So if I line up 100 people, only 10 have a sealed filling that's silver. The rest of them, you're inhaling the vapors. And what gets worse is when you heat the tooth up, it pushes it off even higher. What would cause your tooth to get hot in the morning? Coffee. Tea. What else? Food. Now, if you abrasively brush it, it also puffs it off even faster. So what do you do 2 or 3 times a day? You're brushing your teeth, which means and the vapors are getting into your body. Now you might say, is this proven? Is there science behind this? Yes, there is. How come I don't feel it, Dr. Ernst? You do. You have a health issue. Why is my high blood pressure there? Open your mouth. I see it. That's why. But you know where you guys go? There's no way it's that. It's got to be my genes because my doctor's smart. They said it's my genes. Okay? Vaccines are loaded with them. Even the flu shot. Now watch this. They're now realizing that Americans are not buying flu shots because they have mercury in them, thimerosal. So what did they do? Well, we'll just put another metal in them. You don't care about aluminum, do you? So we'll put aluminum in it. It has to have a metal to keep the virus inert. It must be there. So they said, well, everybody's so worried about mercury, we'll just take the mercury out. And here's mercury-free aluminum vaccines. What does aluminum cause? Alzheimer's. Watch for it. They know it makes you sick. But you think, squirt, I'm not going to get the flu this year. But what happens? You get it anyway, don't you? Because you're deficient in your immune system. This is a traditional lunch according to a website called U.S. Statistics. If you say, what does the average American eat for lunch in the United States? Do you know this? They eat a hamburger and fries. No. 350 million Americans surveyed, what do you have for lunch? The number one answer was, I have a hamburger and fries. Really? It's a classic American meal, is it not? Now, what do you see here? I see Roundup all over the place. Because, did you know this? They spray Roundup not just to protect it from insecticides and everything else, but to do one thing. Hold on, I know you guys are all talking. You got to listen to this. They spray Roundup after grains are picked to keep them dry so they don't grow mold on them. So potatoes that you would say shouldn't be sprayed, they're stored in massive vats and they spray them with Roundup so that the potatoes dry out. Plus, have you ever tried to fry a freshly cut raw potato? What happens? It spits all over the place because there's water in it. So how do we protect the restaurants from having all these overburning fires? We dry them out with Roundup in advance. So you got to be really careful. Roundup is in almost everything. It's in the bun. It's been sprayed onto the seed. It's in the meat because the meat ate the wheat and the corn and the rice and the soy. It's in the potatoes. It's in the oil that the potatoes were cooked in because we use vegetable oils, not real oils. And watch this. When you eat a vegetable oil, even if it's trans fat free, The moment it reaches 99 degrees, it'll automatically trans fat itself. Now, how hot are most of us? 98 something degrees. So if you took raw corn oil, which is a non-trans fat oil, correct? And I eat it directly, glug, 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 it's going to trans fat itself inside of your body because it's not designed to be consumed by itself. Trans fats have a half-life of 51 days. Now watch. It means if I eat one French fry today, 51 days from now, half of that French fry's oil is still inside of me. 102 days from now, I've only gotten rid of about 75% of it. 153 days from now, I got rid of most of it. But what will you probably have done in the last 150 days? You will have eaten a ton of them. Now here's what's unique. Write this down. Trans fats block the ability for tryptophan to be turned into neurotransmitters. It literally gets like this, and it sticks in your liver and says, turn off the ability to convert that amino acid into those neurotransmitters. So when you eat trans fat foods, you are shutting off your ability to produce the most favorite neurotransmitter of them all, dopamine, serotonin, epinephrine, and norepinephrine, which makes you feel like $1 million. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. Well, what do I eat? Don't eat this. Stop eating crap. Ready for this? Carbonated beverages, refined sugars, artificial foods, and processed foods. Are these processed foods? Yes. Stop. Well, what do I eat? Anything that comes from the ground, off a tree, or is natural, real food. Okay, so I'm going to help you guys because apparently nobody knows what real food is. Okay, so here we have another acronym. Ready? Food is this. Sorry. Food, fruits and vegetables, organic lean proteins. Why does it need to be organic? So it's not so that the food that the meat is eating is not sprayed with pesticides and herbicides. We need good fats, not bad fats. We need the omega-3 fats that you'll find in fish and things. But the problem with fish is they're full of mercury. So where do we get our fats from? Plant-based good fats. Avocados, nuts and seeds, hemp oils, coconut oils, medium-chain triglyceride oils, etc. And what should we be drinking? Water. FOOD. It's that simple. Well, that sounds boring, Dr. Ernst. What if I want to have pizza? Figure out a way to make your pizza using food, because it can be done. You guys know of cauliflower crusts? That's a vegetable, isn't it? Now, I just saw you go, you got to acquire the taste for that. But once you actually clean yourself out, I love cauliflower crust pizza. It's phenomenal. Now, wouldn't you agree with me that if I put any degree of the stuff that's in your body inside this fish bowl, that fish is not going to make it? If I took the beverages you guys are drinking, if I took Coca-Cola and I dumped it in there, what happens? If I took Mountain Dew, what happens? But if I put water in there, what happens? So do you see the analogy? You are the fish living in your world, and you just need to clean your world up, and then you will live the length that you're supposed to live. Does that make sense? What happens if I grind up hamburger and I put it inside of here? It's not designed to eat it. I'm not saying you're not designed to have meats, but you're designed to have a specific kind of meat. Naturally raised, which means it eats what it was designed to eat. What is a cow supposed to eat, guys? Grass. Yes. Now, how you all know this, but then when you go to Food Lion and you're like, grass-fed's $10, $3? Eh. Okay? Now, if we look at the next level of this, what I need you to understand is you have millions and millions and millions and trillions of fish inside of your body. And they're called your cells. Millions and trillions of these guys. Now, they have a membrane around them that protects their inner contents from the outside world. It's like a filter. The problem for a lot of you is this membrane has been damaged, and a lot of what's coming in shouldn't be there, and a lot of what should be coming out is not. Does that make sense to you guys? So when a cell gets toxic, we don't just mean that it's got heavy metals and pesticides and stuff like in that. But wouldn't you agree with me that when sugar goes in and sugar is turned into energy, there are going to be byproducts? Yes or yes? And the byproduct must come out, and it gets into the liquids called your blood and your lymph and everything, and then what organ is supposed to get rid of them? The liver and your kidneys and your intestines. Okay, so what happens is usually these are overburdened because there's too much coming out, or this is blocked and nothing's coming out. Now, when the toxicity of a cell increases, what happens? Well, the end result, but in the beginning, it's lack of normal function. Okay, it doesn't just go instantly to cancer. Cancer is lack of normal function for years and years and years and years, right? If you get diagnosed with cancer today, you've had lack of function for at least 30 years. Why didn't you know you didn't have lack of function? Because you can't feel it. Can you feel lack of function? Can you guys tell me if your kidneys are working at 100% right now? How about 10% deficiency? How would you know? Yeah, you'd have to get them tested. Now, can you go to your doctor and say, I want a kidney function test? But what do they look for? The definition is either normal or diseased. They have no way to check functionality. They'll just go like this. Well, you don't have kidney disease right now. I didn't ask you to check for kidney disease. I asked you to check the functions of my kidneys. How efficient are they? They must be working well because you don't have kidney disease. You see the problem? They don't check for health. They determine if you're unwell and how unwell you are to determine how many drugs to give you. That's it. So you can't go to your medical doctor, get an annual physical, and have it come back clean and say, yes, I'm healthy. No, you're probably pre-diseased. So you need to get functional tests. So what I want to show you are functional tests. Are you guys okay if we do this?
Yes.
Okay, this is worth writing these down. Okay, number one, getting blood work like a CBC is helpful, but the problem is this. They'll only test what they can give you a drug for if the test is abnormal. They will only test for what they can give you a drug for if the test comes back abnormal. So for example, do they check for things like cardiac reactive protein, homocysteine, and things that will tell me how inflamed and swollen your cell tissues are? No. Why? There's no drug to fix that. Will they test for things like reverse T3 or antibodies? Maybe if you go to a holistic physician, but usually they're going to not give you medications, and they're a specialist and they're working in some kind of field. Your primary GP, I promise you, if you have a thyroid problem and you go ask for a thyroid panel, what do? They run TSH, T4, and if you're lucky, they do T3, and they stop right there. Why? We can medicate those. Will they go down and look at the non-medicative ones? No. Why don't they run vitamin D? Even though they have a prescription for vitamin D, why won't they run it? No, they found out even if they boost you synthetically, you'll still get well. So they said, stop testing for it. Do you guys remember back in the day, it used to be pretty common to get a prescription for 50,000 units of vitamin D? You guys remember this? Why don't they do it anymore? Because people were getting well. And they said, stop. Stop writing this prescription. Okay? When you go deeper and you want to see how toxic you are, okay, now first is CBC, and what this does is it shows us organic function. Now the difference is you got to know the right ranges. Let me give you guys an idea on that, okay? You all know, I think, that blood pressure is 120/80, correct? Is that normal blood pressure?
Yes.
No, that's what they say. Now watch. In order to have a normal range, it means that there are people who have pressures at 100/60 that's normal, and there's people at 140/100 that's normal. But the number of people here is not as many as this, so what do? They say, well, the statistical average in the United States is 120/80, so we will define that as normal. Now, does that mean, though, that you could be down here and be normal? Yes. Could you be up here and be normal? But what will they say to this? Medicate. What will they say at 122/85? Medicate. Did you know there are what are known as the standard deviations, +1, +2, +3? Am I losing you guys on this? If you're a +1 deviation, you are totally fine. But the doctors say it's got to be black and white. Cholesterol must be 200. If it's 202, I'm going to push statins down your throat. If it's 176, though, well, you're doing really good. That's actually really dangerous because it's too low. So remember, there's a statistical average, and then there's -1, -2, -3. Functional doctors know the normal ranges of ideal function, and they'll say something like, well, that is actually a little too low. Unless you're 1% of the world, there's something going on. But a doctor will say, good, well done, great job. Keep it this way. So So you have to be really careful about knowing the normals. So I like running blood work, but you have to run functional blood work, which means the numbers are different. Does that make sense? My range for cholesterol is up to 285 as normal, as long as your HDL is half of that. You got to know the ratios and the numbers, okay? You can get this urine test done, and it'll show us how inflamed and toxic your cells are. So how do we test for toxicity? You have to get tests run that will show us the amount of toxins in your body. Now, there is a marker called malonylaldehyde that your kidneys and your livers excrete globally if they're having a hard time getting rid of toxins. Now, if you go to LabCorp and you say, hey, I want this test run, first of all, your doctor will never order it. And even if they could, it does exist. It's available at LabCorp. You can call them and say, I'm going to bring my urine in. I want you to test malonylaldehyde. One marker, $800. Why is it so expensive? They don't want you to run it. Number two, when it is run, it actually has a clinical significance to your degree of toxicity. So if you're up here, you're highly toxic. If you're down here, you're extremely clean. Do you think it's a good idea to find out how toxic you are? Now, I can save you a ton of money. No one to date that I've run this on has passed it in the first test. These are some patients that came to some of my events. I used to include this test. I would say, here's a little vial. I want you to pee in it. I would buy the test. We would check a color. And I stopped doing it because 100% of everyone, it comes back ultra high. I test it later on because if you're getting well, what should we start seeing? So if you get this in 6 months, then I know, well, you're well. Well, Dr. Ernst, I want to see how dark it is. Well, we can do that, but I promise you, you're going to fail it. Okay? I'll just print this off and hand it to you and say, that's yours. I promise you, you're going to fail it. I promise. The only people who pass it have been working on their health from a functional holistic perspective for more than a year, and usually it's only in this range. So you've got to know, could we go even deeper and start looking for these really nasty guys like heavy metals? Yes, you can. You can run urine tests. Look, this is my wife's test, and that is my test. See, Sarah Ernst, Erin Ernst. What do I have a lot of? Lead. And what does my wife have a lot of? Lead. And what is her number? And what is my number? Think that's a coincidence? We've been married for 17 years. We've been together for 25 years. We get exposed to the same stuff. Plus, lead is inherited from your parents. If your mom was highly lead toxic, all human beings come from a mother. Would you agree? We grew up inside. Lead can pass the placental barriers, so if mom has a lead of 80, baby's going to be born with something less than 80 because you'll absorb some of mom's. Wow. The more children you have, the more lead you pass around. So sometimes, you guys understand this? Some women say, well, after my 4th pregnancy, all my health issues went away. Did you know this? No. They'll go, well, I was really sick and I had 3 kids and now all of a sudden I'm well. They got rid of their toxicity for metals, but they gave it to their kids. But their kids won't express it until when? Until they're 30, 40, or 50. And then they'll pass it. It takes 7 years, 7 generational turn-throughs, okay? 7 births before lead will disappear completely in a human being. 7 generations. We haven't even been in the United States for that many generations yet. Okay? I'm working on this. There's ways to chelate lead. Okay? So you have to know if you have it. And the problem is most people go, well, the tests sound like they're going to cost a fortune, Dr. Ernst. $200 for metals, $800 for urine malonylaldehydes. Guys, I get them at doctor's prices. I get them at severe, severe discounts. This is a fun one that I've started doing. Ready for this? We can look to see how many trans fats are actually in you right now. That's cool, isn't it? So you can find out the amount of trans fats. Now, how did this person do? And they're severely deficient in some of the best fats for the body. So remember, what do trans fats do? They stop the production from tryptophan to neurotransmitters. I just found cause. Right. This test costs $800 retail. It's a simple sheet of paper that you drip your blood on, they dry it, and we send it in the regular US mail to a lab in Asheville, and then the results come back. Can we run tests? Yes. Why don't you run them? How much does my insurance pay for this? 0. Well, then I don't want to do it. Ignorance. Ignorance. And when you go to your doctor and you say, hey, doc, sorry, guys, my thing is really freaking out on me. I had a photo of a doctor, and he says this, right? Because I've done this. Doc, I want to know how many trans fats are in my body. What? We can't do that. Well, I'll pay you for the test. I found it. Here's LabCorp's marker. Can you go do it? They're not going to pay for it, so why don't you just do my test instead? Does your test include it? No. Why not? I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know. Stop talking to me. Please take this prescription and leave. You must have anxiety. Like, you guys understand? I joke at it, but anxiety pills are becoming the #1 thing that they give out, right? And they also do it because of this. Well, your blood tests are normal, but there's something wrong with you. And I don't know what it is, so you must be making it up. So here's an antidepressant because you must be depressed. Because depressed people often complain about stuff that isn't real. So they know that this is happening to you. Okay, next leg. Ready for this? The way your brain talks to your body. Huge. Would you agree? Massive. Okay? Our brain is intimately connected to every organ in your body. And if I could simplify it, it is not wireless. Remember my example in the beginning was my wireless internet was out? It's a wired connection. Your brain uses your spinal cord. It goes through the bones in your spine out to your organs. So if you have an interference in your wires, your organs won't work. So now the problem that we see is this. Most of us think that if my spine's out of alignment, I will be in pain. But you're not. If you're in pain, it means you've had an alignment problem with your spine for years. It's like cancer. Pain is a big deal. The acronym is Pay Attention Inside Now. PAIN. You get it? The noise that you feel or hear is your body going, wake up, please. I sent the pain to your neck because that's where the gallbladder sends pain because your gallbladder is about to explode and you pop an aspirin and Advil and go, it's so much better now. You have to understand referred pain patterns. It's the same thing as if this wire is disconnected, correct? Now, where does this go? I don't know, wherever that thing goes. Maybe it goes to the dishwasher. What's wrong with the dishwasher? What's wrong with it? It's not connected, but is there anything wrong with the dishwasher? No. It works perfectly. But you'll kick it, and you'll yell at it, and you'll scream at it. And if you are ignorant and you don't go look for this, you'll go, well, it's time to call the mechanic. The mechanic comes, and if he's ignorant, he'll say, I don't know, everything's working. So we'll run a generator under your house, and when I hook that to it, oh, look, there it is, it works. So you'll have to just fill it up with gas every day for the rest of your life. It's a medication. Wow. You guys see the issue? They come from the outside. They don't ever look to the inside. Now, a real smart mechanic or handyman would say, hey, before I do anything, can we just please go out into the garage? Oh, there's your problem. And what do they have to do to this? Adjust it back into place. This is what chiropractic actually does. But a lot of people think chiropractic is to get rid of pain. It doesn't get rid of pain, it gets rid of alignment issues. And when you're in normal alignment, what happens? The pain goes away by itself. But if you go to a chiropractor and you get adjusted because you're in pain, and then you leave and 2 weeks later you get back in pain again, so you go back and you get out of pain, and then you're in pain and you're out of pain, it's not working. Does that make sense to you guys? Mm-hmm. That's a chiropractor who says, where do you hurt? Your knee? And they'll pop your knee and they'll say, does it feel better? Of course it's going to feel better, it's moving. But do you want it to get healed, you have to reconnect it to source. How would you know if it's not connected to source? You have to run some tests and look at the spine itself. Do you see how this spine is bent and leaning to the left? Can you guys see it? Where's the problem? There's a bend right here and a bend right here. That goes to the heart. Now, is the heart supposed to be on the right side of your chest? Does the heart go over here or does it go over here? But this person's heart is in the dead center of their chest. And when they came to see me, massive rapid tachycardia, major anxiety, and they said, I don't know, something's wrong. But all the doctors ran stress tests on their heart, and they said, your heart's fine. Wow. The dishwasher's working. It's doing everything it's supposed to, but why isn't it functionally working? It's disconnected from source. And look at this. It's a colonic nerve that controls the intestines. What is that, guys? That's called a poopoma. It's a large piece of stool in the bowels that's not moving through. And why? Because the nerve is damaged. So would we leave this and take a prescription for the arrhythmias, take an antidepressant to try to calm down, Zoloft, Paxil, Wellbutrin, Xanax? That's what she was doing, but it wasn't working. So what do? Adjust, and let's cleanse this colon out. Let's reconnect the power. You can actually see it a lot more specifically if you get the right kind of testing done. And one of the biggest tests that you can run is how your brain, remember the dopamine works, is wired right here to your body. Now, I'm going to go a little deep on you guys, and I hope you're okay with this. I have patients that come to see me that complain about their knee, and they're like, I've done injections, I'm going to flexogenics, you guys know this kind of stuff, I'm getting the gels injected, I'm getting stem cells injected. How much is a stem cell injection in your knee? Somebody tell me. Has nobody ever looked into this? So you go down to the guys in Charlotte that are doing stem cell injections, and you say, my knee hurts, and they say, it works, 90% guarantee, we'll inject your own stem cells into your knee, and in about 2 months you'll have no pain. And guys, it works. $10,000 a pop. And they are booked for months in advance. Why will people spend 10 grand on an injection for their knee? Because the pain does go away. When you get to the point where you're like, this is so frustrating, like I can't work, I can't sleep, I can't think, you will pay anything you can. But watch. The stem cells that are produced in the body are only told what to do if the brain is connected. The connection comes right here. You have to have an open source for your brain to flow into. You have to have an arc in your neck. You have to have specific metrics. Now here's where it gets even crazier. You're going to see this in a second. All the dopamine that you naturally produce in your intestines, how does it get from the intestines up to your brain? It uses what's called the vagus nerve that's wrapped all around you. So the gut secretes the hormone, the nerve system sucks it up, and it goes up through the vagus nerve to your brain. If this bone is pushed up into there and it's smashed, what can you not get from your gut? The dopamine. So could you have a perfectly working gut and still have an issue with your health being hyperactive? Yes. Could you be completely non-toxic? You've done every juice cleanse on the planet. You only eat at Whole Foods. In fact, you're a vegan. And still, could you be unwell? Yes. Why? Because of interference right there. Right there. Now, most of you either have never had this tested or you have and nobody looked at it. So I know what normal is, and I'm so good at it that I can sit you down, look at an x-ray, and I can tell you if it's off. We have technology that can scan the neck and see if there's nerve interferences. This is Angela when she came to meet me. I said, sit down. If you're going to work with me, we need you well. And I scanned her neck, and that came out. And I went, something's wrong. Now, you've been under chiropractic care for how many years? 5 years. She was working for another chiropractor. How often does the chiropractor adjust you? Well, I get adjusted all the time. But it's not working. You're not well. You're not healing. You've been gaining weight like crazy. You're telling me you're depressed. You're anxious. So what do we see? I did an x-ray for her neck. What's the difference? Is there a curve in there? No. Is the disc thin and smashed? But what's the biggest problem? Literally next to no space. Now, those of you who have been in my office have been adjusted before, chiropractically, it's a little different than the classic, like, right? It's a lot more specific. We have an instrument. It's a percussion tool. Goes on the back of your skull. You look straight down, and we tap it open. You think it hurts, but it actually feels really good. It feels really good. I've had people come in and say, like, oh, my God, like, I feel like I'm floating right now. What'd you do to me? Reconnect you to source. I had one lady go, no, you don't understand. Dr. Ernst, when I take a step, it feels as if I'm stepping on a trampoline. Like I feel like I'm on a boat. She goes, I've gone everywhere, even Mayo Clinic. I've seen the best of the best neurologists. Please tell me you can help. And I'm like, I know I can. She goes, how can you just say that like that? Lay down. She gets up and she's like, what did you just do to me? And I said, what's going on? She goes, I've never felt this before. One visit, guys. All it takes is a release. Now, is Angela getting better? Yes. Is she getting better? And the curve's back. This is the difference between pop and crack chiropractic and actual physical spinal correction, which is what I do. Look, we're so specific with it. We do one x-ray when you come in, we do one therapy, and we re-x-ray, because if that goes to here in one visit, I know how long it will take to get you there. Now, 2 months is super fast, considering year after year after year after year. And I promise you this, if you do not know if the vagus nerve is open, and you do not know the curve in your neck, it is a big interference, worse than the toxicity. Because you could be completely untoxic and congested here, and you're still going to not get well. Now, right now, I know what all of you are saying. Oh my God, I got to get more tests. I got to get an x-ray now. I got to go to a chiropractor. Like, Dr. Ernst, you just want me to give you my unlimited credit card for the rest of your life, right? No, I can save you guys time and money on this. How much does an x-ray cost for your neck if you go to your medical doctor? If you have no neck pain, they cannot bill it to your insurance. You guys realize this? If you just walk in and say, Doc, hi, nice to meet you. I'd like to go back and get an x-ray of my neck. How much does it cost? You know what they say? I don't even know. We have to diagnose you with the condition. What's wrong with you? Nothing. I feel great. I just want my neck checked. Get out of here. You're wasting my time. You guys understand that? Mm-hmm. So you go to a chiropractor, and they'll charge you a couple $100 typically for an exam and x-rays. And you know what they'll do? They'll go, That's why you have pain in your neck. Crack, 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 crack. Do you feel better? Actually, I do. This is great. Thanks, doc. But why didn't my blood pressure get better? Because you're not getting spinal correction. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope you understand this. We're so good at it that I can see the correction take place in one visit, and then I can show you how to maintain it, stabilize it, and keep it that way for the rest of your life. And who's supposed to keep your spine in normal position? Me or you? You are. You just need to know how to do it. Right. Do you know how to brush and floss your teeth? Who taught you how to do that? Who taught you how to brush and floss your teeth? Your mom did. And where did they learn it from? Dentist, hopefully? Who's teaching you how to brush and floss your spine? No one. Not even the chiropractors are doing it. And it's a tragedy because it heals you. This is her rescan. Is it better? Guys, it's definitive. We can test you. We can work on you. We can retest you. Can we do that with blood work? You bet. Every 8 weeks we can retest. Can we do it with toxicity panels? You bet. Every 8 weeks. But now when I say I want 4 of them run and I want 6 x-rays, I know what you're thinking. There is no way I can afford this. And what I do is I help you guys. Those of you who have been in my clinic before, you know I cover on average 50% of everybody's care. If your insurance says it costs this many thousand, I divide it by 2, and that's your fee, and I include everything. I physically take my credit card, I pay for your labs, I pay for your exams, I pay for your tests, because he blessed me beyond my wildest dreams with finances. And so I said, God, what do you want me to do with this? I don't need any more. And you know what he said to me? Give it back to the people I send you so they can help financially. Now, I had one lady at my last event, she goes, so you're going to do it all for free for me? Like he said, give it back. I'll take all of the money that you said he was supposed to give, run all the tests on me. I'll do everything, Dr. Ernst. I don't have to pay a dime, right? No. Why would I ask you to pay a little bit towards me? Why would I ask for that? It's accountability and commitment. Guys, guess what? The first time I ever heard it, I did it. And I would only do it for pastors because I figured that's who God talks to all the time. Like I was ignorant at the time. It's like 8 years ago. I'm like, are you a pastor? Just run with it. Yes. Yes. Then your care is 100% free. I'll pay for everything. In fact, God told me I'm supposed to take care of you. And I would do it, and guess what? They would not show up for their appointments. Right. They would go, well, I'm too busy this week. I'll come in next week. Or they would say, well, I had a big church event. We're going out of town. I have a retreat. I have a conference. They don't do it. Right. But the moment I would ask a pastor to pay for it, you know what they go? Well, it's very unchristian-like of you. I'm a man of God. You're supposed to pay for this for me. Well, guess what? You're not going to show up if I do it. No, I will. I promise you I will. So then I would do it, and guess what? They wouldn't show up. So all I ask for you to do is make a tiny commitment. Guys, I'm going to give you the sweetest deal on the planet. You're going to get all of these tests, everything, for literally fractions on a dollar. Normally, it would cost you close to $2,000 just to have the first level testing done. And we're cutting it way down into like just about a $600 range. And we're including second visits and third visits and therapies. I'll go over it in a moment. But if you're going, how do I get these tests run? I'll show you how to do it. Another way to look at the vagus nerve, really important. You guys help me with this. Vagus nerve comes out right there and right there. And what's going on with this? This is an open mouth view. You have to open your mouth real wide. We're looking at the first bone in the neck and the second bone. What's going on here compared to here? So she was in a car accident, got hit from the side, and said, ever since the accident, my life has been falling apart. Well, let's take a look. Now, been to multiple PTs, multiple MDs, even went to a neurologist, and they're like, I don't know, we cannot find it. I don't know about you, but can you see it? Like, do you see a problem here? Yes. Now, the only problem is, how do we fix that? How do we get this bone back to there? You have to go, and you have to adjust it. Now, a lot of you will go like this. No way, you're never doing that to me. Trust me, I've heard it all. You're not cracking my neck, because you know what you're going to do? You're going to break something, you're going to hurt me, or you're going to kill me. Okay, I've done nearly north of 100,000 adjustments per year. Hundreds of thousands per year. How many times have I been sued and taken to the medical board for injuring a patient? 0. Do you guys realize that a chiropractor pays almost no malpractice money up front? My malpractice is like maybe $1,000 a year. If I was a neurologist and I was going to do surgery on your neck, north of $150,000 a year, because they do injure people. You have more faith in doctors that kill more people than you do in somebody who's never injured a person in their life, which is also yourself. Okay? Brain connects to body. I love this. You guys are going to like this. Ready? This is a test that I'm including in the evaluations that costs close to $3,000. $3,000 for this test. Watch. This marker tells us how much epinephrine and norepinephrine you have in your body. Now, it's a urine test, so it's backwards, right? If I am urinating out the marker, am I having lots and lots of epinephrine made in my body? No. Does that make sense to you guys? So if I If I urinate the marker out, that marker is needed to make that hormone. So if I'm urinating all the marker out, will I make the hormone? No. So is this person urinating the markers out? Yes. This one is what is used to make dopamine. So I go, definitive. Boom, there it is right there. I know exactly why you're unwell. Your neurotransmitters are out of balance. Now, what do you guys instantly say? What do I take to rebalance my neurotransmitters? That's medicine. What would be the cause of this? Toxicity, neurological interference, and the last one that we have to talk about, which is your gut not working. Do you guys see this? We can literally test this. What's so beautiful about this is maybe I work with you for 8 weeks, and if that moves to here, then what's happening? You're healing. But if you never took a medication and you're not even taking supplements to do it, what does that mean? Reconnection to source. And you have to get this test run multiple times. Now, how much was the test? How many times do I want to run it? 3 or 4 or 5 times. So am I going to shell out $15,000 for your care in my office? Yes, if you tell me you want me to. Does that make sense? Now, this gets even bigger. Watch this. This marker here tells us if the receptor is open. Now, do you guys understand that hormones must have receptors to land in them to make them work, right? A receptor needs dopamine to land into it, right? So this test will tell me if the receptor is open. So I say, oh, receptor's open. This test will tell me if the receptor is blocked. Now, that is really, really, really low, which means something is sitting inside of that receptor. And what do you think the number one toxin that sits inside a receptor is? I showed them to you earlier. Heavy metals. So that is an indication that heavy metals are present, but that you could get it to work if we get rid of the toxins. It's the best test on the planet. Also, this tells me if you are aging too fast, and that tells me if there's DNA damage in your body to your telomeres. So this person has DNA damage, which means they're precancerous. Massive test. Love it. Okay? Last one, microbiome. Are you guys familiar with what's known as your gut-brain connection? The idea that literally you have 2 brains. They've actually said this. You have a brain here and you have a brain here. You have neurological tissue in your gut. Now, I don't know about you, but we don't want to put crap in our brain, right? But you do it every day by putting it in your other brain. So when you have Bojangles, Pizza Hut, KFC, because they're easy to go to, or you go buy that boxed food item. Well, doctor, I had a patient tell me this once. Dr. Ernst, you don't understand. The lean cuisine says it's low in fat, low in salt. It's really good, right? No. Completely toxic, because how are you going to heat it up, too? In the microwave, and it's a plastic container, so what are you doing? You're putting all the toxins in the food. So not only is the food highly toxic and sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, but you're increasing the man-made chemicals inside of it because you cooked it in the microwave. Well, how else am I supposed to cook it? You're not supposed to cook it at all, because you shouldn't even be eating it. It's not real food. But Dr. Ernst, it's food. It's carrots and celery and it's peas and it's chicken. Yeah, but what did the chicken eat? Are they sprayed with pesticides? I don't know. It was on sale. It was a 10 for $1. Watch out. Yes?
I hate to interrupt. I know you got lots of, but this is a pet peeve.
Go for it.
Shouldn't even say pet. Okay, chicken, 21 days.
We can talk about chicken and meat and all that stuff all day long. It's an absolute disaster. And guess what? Almost all chicken in the United States, even organic chicken, is still fed corn and soy and rice.
And raised in
Like literally. You know what? They rapidly raise them because they know when they eat this stuff that they grow super fast. Now watch this. Ready? If you eat a chicken that's been rapid raised, have you guys heard about this?
Yes.
Rapid raised chickens? Yes. From the moment the egg cracks to the moment they slaughter it is 21 days. That's abnormal. Why are they growing so fast? Because they're activating growth hormones by giving them corn, soy, wheat, and rice that's sprayed in pesticides and herbicides. Now you eat a rapidly growing chicken's piece of meat, and what happens to you? Exactly. You rapidly grow, which means you get cancer. Cancer is rapid growth. You age faster. You die faster. The food industry is just as much in bed with the pharmaceutical company as everybody else, because now they're giving the chickens Benadryl, Tylenol, aspirin, Adderall, Ritalin. They're giving them drugs because it calms them down.
And the packaging says
no added anything. And it'll just say no antibiotics. But an antibiotic is not a prescription medication like Adderall. Yes?
Yeah, and I know all this to be true. I have a sister that worked at the chicken plant.
Yeah.
In Sumter,
Yeah.
And she would tell me about some of
Hey, listen. It gets even worse when you talk about pork, pigs, and it gets even worse when you talk about cows. You guys realize that the reason a cow grows so fast is because it drinks its mom's milk? A cow will go from a baby to an adult in less than 2 years as long as it drinks milk. So that's rapid growth. You understand? That's normal rapid growth. Now, once a cow is an adult, do you ever see it drinking milk?
No.
Why? Because it will kill it. But yet we drink milk every day on our glyphosate-sprayed Chex cereal, our oatmeals, and we wonder why we're so sick. We are causing our own diseases, but it's not that the food is doing that, it's that the food destroys the gut, and then the gut falls apart and your immune system declines. Okay, eat real food. Well, Dr. Ernst, corn is real food. Well, it used to be, but it's not food anymore, right? It's been modified. Now watch this. Your gut-brain connection is so vital for hyperactive disorders because if your gut's not working, you're not making dopamine, you're not making serotonin. Does that make sense? So I don't know if you guys have all 3 of them. I don't know if you just have 1 of them. I don't know if you have 2 of them. The only way to find out is to test all of them. Does that make sense? Now, when we talk about autoimmunity, I want you to know this. If you're here today with rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, some sort of eczema, a skin issue, rashes, acne, all this sort of stuff, that's all hyperimmune responses to the skin. It's the body attacking the skin, attacking the tissues. If you have an autoimmune condition, you have a leaky gut by definition because you can't be autoimmune unless you have a gut issue. Does that make sense? Now, what do I mean when I say a gut issue? I mean this. Your gut scientifically has been shown to produce half of all the dopamine in your body. This is monumental. When it's working, it produces dopamine. When it's working, you produce almost all of your serotonin. Now, do you guys realize serotonin is what makes you feel happy, elated, is what makes you love your life? People who are depressed have super low serotonin, so what are they given? An SSRI antidepressant, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. The drug tries to keep the serotonin in the brain because the serotonin naturally recycles itself. So your gut will secrete serotonin, your brain will feel it, and the serotonin will go back into the gut. It'll be produced, it goes up into the brain, you feel it, it goes back down. When you don't have enough serotonin, the way to fix it is to just say, well, somehow keep the serotonin in the brain. And that's an antidepressant. Does that make sense? An SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So all of it's made in your gut. Your dopamine's made in your gut. 80% of your immune system lives in your gut. So if you're going, well, I'm chronically unwell, I can't seem to get better, I can't figure out why I'm tired all the time, I always get colds and flus and sicknesses and illnesses, you're basically telling me your gut's leaking. You just don't realize that that's what's happening. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. Here's what I mean by a gut leak. We go in and we look at the cells, come on now, and they start to get inflamed. And remember, when something gets inflamed, doesn't it get swollen? Think of your sinuses, right? If your sinuses swell, they start to become all packed up and gummy-like and all just runny and everything else, right? So your intestines are supposed to be millions and millions and millions of individual cells that keep what's in your stool going towards the toilet and not in your blood, correct? Now, what a leaky gut is, by definition, is there is a protein that holds them together and it acts like an anchor. Thank God that he put anchors in there. It holds them together. What's even crazier, when you look at the anchor protein, have you guys seen this? What does it look like? It looks like a cross. Physically, it's called laminin. So it looks literally like that. Now, I don't know about you, but as a Christian, come on. The very thing that holds you together is the exact symbol of Christ himself. I'll let you guys digest that for a minute. Now watch this. These proteins can become damaged. And thus, what happens is the cells spread apart. Now, what do you think your body's going to do in its brilliance? Because remember, the body can heal by itself, right? Body can heal by itself. Do you think your body goes, oh my God, there's a hole forming. We need to do something to plug that hole. Do you think it does that?
Yes.
Yes. What do you think it fills the hole with? Fat. Because what will fat do? It will repel liquids. So if I fill that area with fat, then the stuff can't get through. So now watch. The more fat you have in your intestines, the leakier your gut is by definition. So could we run a test real simply and find out if you have a leaky gut? Yes, all we need to do is look and see how much fat is in here. Now the problem becomes, because fat repels liquids, wouldn't it also then mean that your vitamin D that's in your digestive system, because you ate foods high in vitamin D, eggs and good fats and things like that, wouldn't it mean it would also bounce off and not get into the blood? Ooh, I hope you guys understand this. The more fat in your intestines, the more nutrient deficient you become. Doc, I don't understand. I take thousands of milligrams of vitamin C. You just ran a test and said I'm vitamin C deficient. The test must be wrong. I swallow it every day. You're not absorbing it.
Right.
It's bouncing off all the fat in your gut. I don't have a lot of fat in my gut. Look, look. You can still have a lot of fat in there by percent.
Right.
Some people look really skinny and they're loaded with fat on the inside. And believe it or not, some people look really overweight and they don't have a lot of fat on the inside. How's that humanly possible? Because that fat's under their skin and this fat's in my organs. It's a big difference. You better know what they are, okay? As you don't get your nutrients, your immune system freaks out, you become deficient, and then what happens is first, you start to become sensitive to various foods. So you'll say something like, well, I used to be able to drink milk and have no problems. Now, like, whoo, whoo. Okay, I used to be able to eat whatever I want and I could lose a ton of weight. Now, I used to be able to eat this and never get a problem. And now the moment I eat it, I get a splitting headache. That's a leaky gut, guys. And then lastly, what happens is you build disease, and the problem is then you attack yourself and you make it worse. The only way to get out is to repair it. Every single thing we do in our lives stresses our gut out. Everything. It's like the most important thing you must repair on a daily basis. Just like you brush your teeth to clean them, you have to do something every day to clean your gut. And the crazy thing is, it's foods that you typically will say to me, oh, I don't like the way those taste. But they are gut cleansers. Give me one food that cleans your gut out. Yes. High fiber. Kimchi's a great one, right? Loaded with natural raw probiotics, and they're fermented. What's that? Kombucha, you got to be careful with today, because the beverage industry is turning it into like liquid candy. If you make your own, now you're really getting there, right? Also cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, the cruciferous, things like that. But the big ones are the high fiber, high fat nuts and seeds. Chia seeds, flax seeds, Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts, the high fiber, high fat. But Dr. Ernst, high fat causes heart disease. I don't want to eat those. You have been lied to about fats.
Yes.
Really lied to about fats. You should be eating a lot of fat in a good way. I had a patient ask me once, Dr. Ernst, listen, if you're saying my gut's leaking, like, no offense, do you mean I have holes in my intestine? Okay, so I want to show you something. This is relatively recent. They're now able to do these really high quality electron micrograph images of the actual gut lining. Is it a hole? Not the way you think, but what they are damaged areas of the intestines where stuff just pours right through that. You can actually see it if you look close enough to it. But this is super expensive if you ask somebody to do that for you. Do you agree? That's like a research study. Now, we can actually go in and say, okay, look, stand on a scale, not a scale that says this, how much you weigh, but how much your weight is compromised by water, fat, protein, bone, structure, everything else, right? It's called a composition scan. So like, for example, if you weigh 150 pounds, well, how much of that is fat versus water? And how much is muscle versus water? It's more important to know that than it is to know your total weight. There can be people who are severely heavy, but they're actually really healthy. Okay, so what we do is we stand you on this special scale. It'll show me your weight. It'll show me how much fat you have by pounds. Now here's what's really cool. It'll show me how much, oh, the thing is blocking it. See, it's up there. How about that? Can you guys see it right there? 34 pounds of 59. You guys tell me. That's 58.19% fat in the abdomen. This is worth writing down. If you have more than 50%, if it's plus 50% in your abdomen, you have a leaky gut, guaranteed. If more than 50% of your total body fat's in your abdomen, you have a leaky gut. How on earth are you going to know how much fat you have in your body right now? You have to get tested. Now, the scale cost me $10,000. Why do you think it's not a $200 scale you buy at Best Buy? Because it shows individual specifications. It runs a little tiny current through your body. You have to hold two handles and step on two pads, and you stand there and it goes zuck, and it gives this print off. It's worth a fortune in my opinion. Now, this guy came to an event of mine about a year ago at diabetes. Diabetes is a big deal in my office. For some reason, I take a lot of care, like good care of diabetics. You know why? They all get well and they all talk to each other. In Charlotte, you know what they say? Oh, my diabetes is gone. You have diabetes. You've got to go see this guy, man. He's going to make it go away in 90 days. You know what most diabetics do? They go, I'm sick and tired of diabetes. I'll do whatever it takes. And they show up and I teach them this and they go, huh, that's wild. So he came to a diabetic seminar. He's got a big problem, right? He's way overweight for his height and age. So then I said to him, look, will you let me get you tested? Will you go through all this? And let me just teach you. Please just let me teach you what to do. Eat this, don't eat that. Do this, don't do that. Release your vagus nerve. Pull these toxins out. He said, Doc, whatever it takes. Now watch this. This is a 5 or 6 month transition of how much weight he lost. Guys, he lost like north of 30 pounds in just 5 or 6 months. Wow. But what happened? 42.4 pounds, 16.4 pounds, only 38. He lost 20-something% of fat just from his intestines. Now, did I give him some sort of weight loss pill to make that work? Did I send him to the gym and say work out 16 times a week? Actually, I said stop doing all of that because it's going to make you worse. We simply removed the interference, and what did the body do by itself? It's designed to do that by itself. It's designed to. Yes?
Type 1 diabetes be reversed?
It can only if it showed up later on from when the child was born.
How late?
Like anything beyond 1 or 2 days after birth. So sometimes type 1 diabetes shows up at like 16 months, 17 months, 18 months, okay? That is damage to the pancreatic cells themselves, okay? They can't produce insulin at all, so they have to basically inject insulin.
What about as an adult?
As an adult, it's fully reversible because if you weren't born with it and you developed it, then it can go away. It means there's a virus in your pancreas, though, because the virus is wreaking havoc on the cells, and it means the immune system is down, and that's why the virus is there, and it means there's nerve damage to the pancreas, because otherwise it would have cleared itself out. I've seen type 1 go down. Depends on the number of units that you're using in insulin per day, but let's say you're at 60, we can get it down to 30 shortly, down to 15 even faster, down to 5, 4, 3, 2, basically you don't have it anymore. Does that make sense? You'll have to work on maintaining it for the rest of your life, but it can repair itself. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, is it worth doing? I think it is. I've seen it multiple times over and over again. Can we run a test now and find out actually how leaky your gut is? Yes. Now watch this. Indican is a marker that is secreted by the cells next to where the hole is. Okay, so remember, you have a normal cell right here, yes? And you have a normal cell right here. How the brain knows it's happening is they start going like this. Indican, 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 indican. And the reason they call it indican is it indicates the leak in the intestine. So it's a marker that you can run. It's in your urine. If you have lots of it in your urine, what do you have? A leaky gut. We actually have definitively defined it. We say if there's more than 64 units, then you have a leaky gut. And what did he have? 65. I didn't have to run the test because I had the scale test. But some people like to see hardcore numbers. Dr. Ernst, I want to see the science. Okay, here you go. Also, it shows severe overgrowth of bacteria. See this? High, 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 high. And also what? One of the most dangerous things that you can ever have in your intestines, which is candida. Candida literally will shut your life down. You won't even know you have it, but you'll have a ton of health issues. And candida is at the root. Candida gives people cancer, by the way. Literally, of the lymphatic tissues, of the colon, the rectum, of the brain, and of the liver. What it is your body's going, well, there's so much candida, we got to wall it off somehow. It tries to go like this, and it creates a wrapper around the candida. And what does that look like to a doctor? That's a tumor. It's not actually a tumor. It's your body saying, I'm trying to hold the candida back because you did not address it. This is him. His name's Daniel. He came to my event, and he's like, listen, please share this story, okay? Some of you have been in my events before. I mean, we have patients here that have already shared their testimonials. If you want to talk to some people, just bump up to them and say, hey, are you already a patient, Dr. Ernst? And listen to their story. Now, I don't know about you guys, but like, that's massive in just 5 months. And the funny thing is, he said, well, Dr. Ernst, you know what? I didn't even realize it was happening to me because I just feel so good. I never even looked. A friend of mine showed me this photo from months ago, and he's like, wow, I've lost a lot of weight. He wasn't even paying attention to it. It's really funny, isn't it? Because once we feel better, what do we start doing? We start living our lives. We don't go back to the past. So that's what I want for you guys, rapid health. Now, are we a weight loss clinic? No. What are we? We're a health restoration clinic. Here's something if you need to lose weight. Okay, this is going to sting a little bit, okay? If you are 25 pounds overweight, then you are 25 pounds unhealthy because you would not be at that weight if you had your health. If you need to lose 100 pounds, then you're 100 pounds unhealthy. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? That means your health is on the decline. Dr. Ernst, though, I don't take any medications. I guess I'm not unhealthy. No, you are. If you have a metric that's off, if you're too high on something, it's a hyperactivity disorder, because of a deficiency. And what are the core deficiencies? The 3 legs. Does that make sense to you guys? Now the challenge with fixing a gut is you can't just eat your way out of it, right? You got to remember that the gut is connected to the spine. So one test I do when you guys come in is the greatest test in my opinion, which is this. Hey, look, can you just do me a favor? Stand up, look straight, hold real still. We take a picture. Now, what do you see as a reference to what's going on with his posture and his balance? What's wrong with him? Which would mean his spine is out of alignment. Where does it start? Where does the alignment get worse? Pretty much right there, doesn't it? Like, do you know your low back controls your intestines? Why did he have a leaky gut? Because he had nerve damage in his back. Do you get it? Brain lost connection with gut. Gut couldn't heal. And he was highly toxic. And he was dealing with chemical stressors. So we start rechecking, and all of a sudden he comes in on his last check-in. I'm like, do you even realize this is happening to you? It's unconscious. You won't even know it. We can test for it, and we can then show you. You know what's amazing? Sometimes I'll see the most extravagant changes on an x-ray, and I'll be like, look at that, that disc grew back. That disc was here, now it's here. Look at this, you have full flow. And the patients are like, okay. And then I show this one, they're like, wow, wow, that's really cool, doc. Look how much better I am. And I'm like, that's just your posture. Do you realize I just meant everything inside of you healed? They're like, I don't care about the x-rays, I care about that. That looks really cool to me. So I get it, guys. But we can test you for a ton of stuff. And you can actually show you that while you're going through repair, you're healing. You're healing. You know what's really cool? If 4 weeks into you working on yourself, by the way, a lot of this is you doing stuff to yourself. If I run a test and go, look, you were 80% deficient, now you're only 60%, what does it give you? Yeah, my God, right? And you know what you'll do? Oh, I thought I was really only doing this like 60%. I didn't tell him I cheated here, I didn't do that. I didn't tell him that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get really good at this now. And guess what? Whoosh, now you're only 40%. Now you'll go, hey, oh, let's keep going, let's keep going. I'm here to be a coach for you, an advocate for you. What do I actually do? I help you with the tests. I help you afford the tests. I show you what you need to do. I hope you go do it, and then I ask you to come back and follow up. If you have a spinal nerve issue, I would love to work on you and adjust it myself, but maybe you have a chiropractor you'd like to see, but I want to make sure that they do what they need to do. Does that make sense? So if you are going to a chiropractor, the first thing you should do is demand a re-x-ray the moment you come to your next appointment and ask for a comparison to your first one. And guess what happens when you ask most chiropractors to do that? No. Or they'll charge you an arm and like, you know why most chiropractors don't want to do it? Because it's not going to look any different, and in fact, it might look worse, and that means you would quit care with them. So they'll go, well, just hold on, before we take the x-ray, how do you feel? I'll feel pretty good. Nah, you don't need an x-ray then. Let me go adjust you. Be really careful about who you let play around with your nerve tissues. So in a nutshell, for today, here's what I want you guys to understand. Get the analogy in a nutshell? You can heal by yourself. The challenge is you may have an interference that you were unaware of. Does it require testing? Yes. Is testing expensive? Yes. One thing I was going to do for you guys is this. If you were to come to my clinic directly and ask me, Dr. Ernst, I just want help. Okay, my clinic fee is normally dependent upon how much you want, anywhere from $497 up to $1697. So if you didn't come to an event, you just call directly and say, Dr. Ernst, I heard about you, I need help. That person is paying these fees to come into my office. Now those are already reduced off what it would normally cost, because what I'm doing here is this. I'm doing neurological testing, I'm doing the leaky gut testing, I'm doing the toxicity testing, and then I'm including a therapy visit to show you what to do to fix it, and I'm including a third visit to say, here's now the plan of action, here's what you need to do. That's normally north of thousands of dollars just to do that. Then if we go deeper and we add the blood exam, the functional CBCs, because it's a blood test, I have a fee that costs me a couple $100s to run that test. Remember, it's my fee. So I'm going to ask you to cover the cost of my fee for that. If we go even further and we do all the functional stuff I showed you, all the testing for your neurotransmitters,